I've been a socialist since I was about 13 years old, roughly about a month before Margaret Thatcher got elected as Prime Minister. I don't know whether it was that particular likelihood or that particular event that sparked me off. I have a great aunt who was a socialist for 70 years before she died a couple of years ago, and she must have influenced me a certain amount. I'm from a background which, although it would have been affluent if my parents hadn't split up, because my parents did split up, it wasn't particularly well off. And so I have lived pretty much most of my life, and certainly all of my adult life, in conditions where I haven't had very much money, and I've had all sorts of personal reasons to ask whether the society we live in is as well arranged as it ought to be. But I suppose I'm mostly a socialist because it strikes me that inequality is socially dysfunctional. You can put forward all sorts of philosophical arguments which are perfectly valid to say that the pursuit of profit is the motor which produces production, which makes people set up companies and find the best possible products to sell to people, and that means that more of these products get produced and we get rich as consumers. And you can go on like that for as often as you like. You can say that if people are happy, what does it matter how much money other people have got? Do they have to be equal to other people financially before they start being able to be happy? Which of course they don't, and that's valid as well. But whichever way you slice it, you cannot get away from the fact that while you have sizable inequalities in society, people in the main will feel that they are not getting as much as they ought to be. And unhappiness in many ways is the gap between what you have and what you perceive you could have. While you have rich people, then apart from anything else, those people are in our face. Those people are always on television, they're in the magazines, they're in the newspapers. They are effectively saying to us, look at me, I'm rich, you could be rich and you're not. Be dissatisfied because what you want to be is to be rich. And while you have that system, that produces dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction squeezes out of every pore of an unequal society, and it's bound to be like that. And it's also bound to be like that because in order to produce wealth, the rest of us have to be squeezed. The rest of us have to be squeezed of our labour to produce benefits which are on the whole enjoyed by other people. And they're going to be enjoyed by a small number of people while most people do the work. And those people, on the whole, are going to look at the other people and say, this is not fair. They're going to look at themselves and say, I work hard. They'll say, I work hard, and yet the reward I seem to get is never quite enough. The work I have to do is always that bit too stressful. The amount of time I have for myself is never quite sufficient. And that's all because, when in a situation where human labour is a commodity, obviously they're going to try and squeeze as much money out of us as they can. They're going to try and squeeze as much work out of us as they can, and work at as high a rate as they possibly can. And so we feel used, we feel exploited, even if we don't necessarily use the term or think about it in an academic or a Marxist sense. We feel dissatisfied as a result of how we are treated when our labour is commodified. And I can't see any way to get out of that other than to have a society which is, to all intents and purposes, equal, even if it's not exactly equal, so that the exact differences don't make any difference. I don't see any reason in human nature why that's not possible. I mean, it's human nature that makes society as it is so difficult to live with because we aren't happy with things the way they are. There's no reason economically not to have equality. There's more than enough for everybody to go around. There's no need for anybody to pile any more up. And yet most of the time you know that it's not going to happen. You know that the forces that want it not to happen, the forces that have a vested interest in it's not happening, are always going to be strong. The forces that want it to happen are always weak and divided. And you think it's never quite within reach. The attempts to make it happen always end in disaster. It always proves too difficult to convince people that things can be done in a significantly different manner to the way they're done today. And so it always lives in the realm of the imagination rather than reality. And yet everything that improves in society happens because someone wasn't happy with society the way it is. And so even if I think of my socialism as a way, as something imaginative, as something unreachable, it's worth striving for, even if you don't actually get it, because the very matter of striving for it means that you improve the world you're actually living in.